When planning your input schedule for TrackEd, it's important to consider that every school is a bit different. So in our TrackEd 3 import guide, we do have a planning guide column here for how often different schools might be doing these different imports. But that really needs to be matched in with your schedules and processes within your school. We're just going to go through each of these and just have a discussion about how often these are done and for what purposes. So the first import here is the student summary. Now this is probably the import that is done the most often. In some cases it's weekly to monthly, and what it actually does is create new students and it archives old students. It updates the absence and behaviour columns in TrackEd. It brings in the last 3 semesters of English, Maths and Science results, and that's even for semesters that these students weren't at your school for reporting periods. And so this student summary is one that we recommend to do quite regularly. Another regular one would be the weekly attendance. So again, that's designed to be done weekly. And in some cases, schools will actually re-import the last 3 weeks of data to take into account exemptions that may have been added after that point. The timetable import is often done quite regularly at the start of semesters until the timetable settles down a little bit. And the at-risk subjects import, that's really an optional one. So that's only if you're handling the at-risk students using that at-risk profile inside TrackEd. Now the dynamic student list, that's an important one to consider if you're working with SLIMS data or OP analyzer data, because that will add the LUI and QCAA numbers for those data sets to be matched up. The NAPLAN summary, again, that's only after each NAPLAN year, and same with the NAPLAN item response. With the NAPLAN item response, you do need to wait for us to issue a new update after the official data comes out, as we add an answer key for that for the analysis. Now the student results, that's done after each reporting period. Although we have 4 columns in TrackEd for each of the terms, you can actually just work with the semesters. So that's completely optional and up to you. Some schools will do term 1, term 2 and term 4 and skip term 3. So it just depends on your needs there. The full OPs import is again after each reporting period or as needed. SLIMS, that's often done twice a term. And yeah, it's really up to you as to how often that one comes in. And QCS after the QCS practice test. Now, coaching notes is one that is actually done quite often in some schools. So if your school is extensively using the coaching notes export and import to bring notes into TrackEd, that one's one that you might consider scheduling to do quite regularly. Tracking templates whenever required, rewards points whenever required. Student photos you can do once per year, and you can actually download a new blank student photos database to do at the beginning of each year to replace those photos and have new ones. Practice NAPLAN, again, is an optional one, and the ID matching tool is not really scheduled in. Okay, so those are the different imports. Really, when you're looking at these, it's useful to consider when you're going to need information, when you're going to need the reporting out the other end of it to make sure that the information is up to date before those reporting periods. In a lot of cases, the preparation of the data is actually given to an administration officer to prepare the data, get everything ready, and then the data control officer or whoever that might be in control of TrackEd would go through and do those imports and ensure everything's up to date at all times.